All right, we're good.
Welcome to the Waiver Wired podcast, and welcome to the week of your fantasy championship. We know you got there because you've been listening to Waiver Wired every Wednesday with myself, Jen Piacenti, and Eddie Spaghetti. Eddie, what's going on today?
Well, Jen, it's not a great time for me coming off a terrible loss in the fantasy second round of the semifinals. I faced the number one ranked team, the highest scoring team. I was the third highest scoring team, and boy, oh boy, could I use some points. I mean, we talked about last show, obviously the Chris Godwin injury. We had a late James Conner injury, all the COVID stuff, Brandon Cooks. So I threw in a bunch of guys like Tyler Johnson, Kendrick Bourne, threw in Josh Palmer, who had a decent game. Hunter Henry was nowhere to be found. So I got a 1 spot from him and a 0 spot from Tyler Johnson, and just Matt Stafford, 3 picks as my quarterback. So I lost 171 to 75, but I should win my third place game. That really matters. Unfortunately, in my main league, and this is my main league with my best friends from home and my brother, no compensation for finishing in third. We only do
payout for third.
No payout. It's just if you're second place, if you lose in the final, you get your money back, your buy-in back, and if you win, you get all the rest of our money. So 12-team league, it looks like I'm going to finish in third, but no worse than fourth. So just absolutely brutal and a tough week for every fantasy football player in the country or the world.
That's tough. I think we're going to get a lot of stories like that. If you're watching this right now on Twitter, feel free to jump in, ask us any questions. This is a live show, and we do want to interact with you. You can also head over to our YouTube page or our Twitch page. And if you ask your question in the YouTube chat, the Twitch chat, it'll pop up right here and we will take them as they come because this is a really important week. If you were lucky enough to make it to your finals, like Matt Stafford did me dirty too, Spaghetti. In quite a few leagues. It wasn't good, but I did get through in one league with Matt Stafford to the finals. It was a 16-team league, so it's very deep and very gross, but I've got my fingers crossed that we can make it through this week, but you never know. But the good news is news coming out the NFL, they have changed the COVID policy. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can feel about this because look, a lot of people already got screwed by these policies, right? Like people that played, without Brandon Cooks, without Mike Williams, without Travis Kelce, without Dalvin Cook, really, really tough, in their semis. And were that to happen this week, they would probably have all those players because now it is only a 5-day quarantine, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, and you can just choose when you come back. Now, of course, the team doctor has to clear you, but the good news about that is it means you have a little bit less variance for your finals. So we have a little bit more confidence when we give you your start sits. But of course, anything can change. It is the NFL. The twists and turns are nonstop. One twist we got today, Adam Thielen officially out for the season with an ankle surgery. So he's already had the surgery. Adam Thielen will be missing the rest of the season. But with these new COVID protocols, it looks like we could see Carson Wentz on Sunday. So a lot of that panic, I was panicking for Jonathan Taylor, to be honest.
Sure. Yeah.
Besides the fact that I was worried that he could end up with COVID, which I don't want, of course, for him, also for me, but especially for him, because is he like the cutest? He's like so all-American and so sweet and so adorable. Plus he's literally, when he rushes for 100 yards or more, the Colts are 9-0. And when he doesn't, they're 0-6. This man is phenomenal. And we can debate the MVP thing later on a later pod because we don't have time today. But I love Jonathan Taylor. And I thought if no Carson Wentz and we're missing an O-line and all this, it's going to be terrible for Jonathan Taylor no matter how you look at it. So now there is some hope that he can help me in my final week. I do have him on one of my teams. Other news, Sam Darnold's getting the start. So with this information, this says to me, I actually like it for DJ Moore. And I potentially like it for streaming the New Orleans defense. So there you go. Thoughts on Sam Darnold coming back?
Yeah, I mean, Carolina's is a little bit of a mess right now, and I know Matt Rule's made those comments about what do you say, compared to Jay-Z, how we need time to create this. And I do trust him as a head coach. The weird thing though is they get rid of Joe Brady. a few weeks back, who was supposed to be the next best play caller, and now you're going back with Darnold, you're flip-flopping. It's just never good for quarterbacks, never good for team chemistry, offensive chemistry. But Cam has not been great, so I guess, it's the end of the year. I guess you have to throw in Darnold in there, but it's not. I don't think this season is obviously not ending the way the Panthers started, which was really good, ending in a miserable fashion. That team may need a sort of rebuild.
It might. Another team that might need a bit of a rebuild, your New York Giants, who have decided to start Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm in a committee.
I think Jen, a few weeks back, I said about the Fromm stuff was when he did the press conference, and he equated it to being a college student who said that he just showed up for the final without going to class. And when a quarterback says that, you're clearly not NFL ready at being a quarterback. And yeah, he was fine at Georgia, but has no arm strength. And I mean, people were excited to put him in because they've seen enough of Glennon, but it also shows you, not that I'm saying Daniel Jones is some, God level quarterback, but what he did with that team versus what these guys are doing, it is pretty remarkable. And it's a mess right now. Outside of Andrew Thomas, there's just absolutely no blocking there. Saquon compared to Devontae Booker is miserable. I mean, they have the same amount of carries, same blockers in front, and Booker's just doing way more than Barkley is. And Sterling Shepard being gone, Kadarius Toney, I think, has had every single injury you could have in an NFL season in his rookie campaign. No one throws to Galladay. It's a total disaster. It's the worst franchise in all of NFL, in my opinion.
Sorry, Eddie. And we have some peanut gallery comments coming in here. A little bit of a mess. It's a hot mess. You know who those comments are coming from. You know her. You love her. Our honored guest of today, Stepmom Lauren. Lauren, what's going on?
Oh my God. Hey, how are you? First of all, how is my volume? Is it super high or is it super low?
I think you sound good. Does she sound
yes.
good? Eddie?
Awesome. A+, yeah.
My microphone and my stuff.
I should have done my hair.
Oh, girl, I haven't washed my hair in 4 days. This is literally up in a messy bun that I'm like, I'll just put it down and do this and be like,
I just went to do laundry in the rain and pick up some groceries in the rain, and then I was like, I can't be bothered.
Your hair looks fab. Stop.
I understand though, Lauren. I was given some feedback from a listener that said that if I wore, I'm sure this includes you, if we wore something that showed cleavage, we'd probably have more listeners. So I'm really disappointed that you didn't come in the uniform. I personally decided to bundle up extra today.
Man. Well, this actually works very well with my shirt today. So if you wanted to see some cleavage, it says, "Thou shalt not try me." This is from the Book of Mood, chapter 24, verse 7. So Mood 24/7, "Thou shalt not try me." There's your cleavage for you.
It's one of my favorite scriptures. I quote it regularly.
It is. I do as well. Zen.
Absolutely.
Zen.
Now, listen, everybody. If you don't know Stepmom Lauren, you've been living under a rock, first of all. But she's fantastic, and we are thrilled to have her here today. Lauren, I'm just going to try to remember all the fantastic places you work. NBC Sports Edge, Fantasy Footballers, Mayo Media Net. There's 7 more.
Yeah, Bets TV.
Okay.
Bets TV. Did we say Fantasy Pros?
We did not say Fantasy Pros yet.
Fantasy Pros, and then Football Guys.
And the Football Guys. So I thought I was the hardest working woman in fantasy, but I am not.
Oh, stop it. You do baseball too. Be quiet. I have one sport that I'm like,
I do. I have baseball, which apparently is actually happening. Did you hear Kyle Seager retired? Well, that's another episode.
Oh yeah.
Won't go there because that's news. That is news. All right. So one of the cool things that you do is you write. Well, first of all, if you're watching this at home, we're taking questions. Any question, preferably about week 17. But if you got others, because we did actually get some really cool questions from some listeners.
Yes, we did.
We are going to talk about, and I'm really excited about. You can go over to our YouTube channel, put them in the chat, and Eddie, Lauren, and I are going to kind of go around here and talk about some of these topics we've already gotten and some waivers. Let's start with waivers, first of all. Let's get it out of the way. You write a waiver article. I write a waiver article. Who are some of your favorite waiver targets for this week? I don't know about you, but when I wrote my article, I was heavily considering the COVID situation. And I was telling everybody, you need to get an insurance policy for every position because you don't know if Sunday morning you're going to wake up and you're just not going to have a guy. He's just not going to be there and you don't have somebody. So you need to have a position. But now that we have I don't know, a little more security. I don't know. Does it change who you are picking up and what you're doing with your waivers?
So this is interesting because today is Wednesday. I wrote my article yesterday, and my initial research was on Monday. All of that is obsolete. It's basically obsolete already, which really sucks. But I do have one player that is my favorite pickup for this week, with the kind of, like you mentioned, the aforementioned premonition perhaps, but is KJ Osborne. I absolutely love him. I think he was only like 20 to 25% rostered across platforms here. And it was mostly because Adam Thielen not only aggravated his ankle injury, not once, but twice. Now he done. So I really liked picking up KJ Osborne for that reason. So he was the one I think that has been sustainable from my Monday research, which now feels like it was roughly 3 months ago, based on how obsolete most of it already is.
So I agree with you 100%. And I just had this feeling, everybody was going crazy for Isaiah McKenzie. But I just had this feeling, I'm like, I don't know, like I'd already seen the CDC guidelines change. And so when we did our video over at Sports Illustrated, I did KJ Osborne. I had the same feeling. I'm like, look, an injury is different. And so on that note, I'm looking at someone like Rojo. I know, Leonard Fournette's really injured. If for any reason, probably not, but if for any reason you're in the 15% of leagues where he's available, you're going to go get him. Same with, Darrell Henderson. CH injury. I don't think he plays on Sunday personally. I don't know. It's week to week, but he actually is available on quite a few waiver wires.
Which is shocking.
Which is shocking. It is shocking to me. And I know that it's because a lot of you still aren't playing anymore and all of that. So these numbers may not exactly be accurate, but look, it doesn't hurt to look.
It doesn't. And, I'm going to take your Ronald Jones one. I'm going to take that just one step further too, because speaking of the COVID protocols and then the change in the COVID protocols, we're still not really sure what is going on with that whole situation, but there has been a breakout in COVID within the Buccaneers. So if Ronald Jones is not available, which he may not be, try Keyshawn Vaughn, because you never know. If you have a spot, this is our last week playing. So you don't have to hang on to anyone for week 18 unless you're weird and you play week 18. Yeah, don't do that.
Don't hold on to Derrick Henry. You can let him go.
Don't do it. You can let him go. Same thing with Darren Waller. Same thing with Adam Thielen. This is so sad. Literally my first 3 picks are now done. They're done for the season. I'm not happy about any of this. So when you come crying to me about how horrible your team is and your life sucks, mine too. We get it. We're there. We play fantasy football also. But Keyshawn Vaughn is one of those weird kind of insurance policies that you may not be able to play him if Ronald Jones starts, but he has some flex appeal. Even if Ronald Jones starts, but if he doesn't and he's the last man standing, yeah.
Major. And the Jets are such a cake matchup. And we even heard Bruce Arians come out and say that basically he loved that he thought Keyshawn Vaughn was a top running back, could be a top running back in the league, and blah, blah, blah. Really? Then
he hated him for a year. He was just
then where's he been in your game plan? So
right, exactly.
Whatever. I think he's just trying to mess with our minds, but agree on Keyshawn Vaughn. I'm actually going to have, if anybody's watching this right now on YouTube, Twitter, be sure you put your questions in here. I'm actually going to have a beat writer for the for the Philadelphia Eagles on the show tomorrow on Fade the Noise, which I'm filling in on Sirius XM. I'm going to try to figure out if there are any clues as to whether it's going to be Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, or Kenneth Gainwell, for that matter, this weekend. I will do my best. So tune into that tomorrow. It is at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Who do you like best out of that backfield if you had to pick?
Oh, this is so exhausting.
I know.
It's the most tiresome thing in the world because you have to rely on Nick Sirianni. And I don't care how many times he wants to fertilize and water his team and be this trust tree of zen and love and peace. He gives me none of this trust thing ever. So right when you think it's going to be, Boston Scott, then Jordan Howard's there. Okay. When Miles Sanders went down, literally Jordan Howard and Boston Scott split carries. Okay. So then you're like, okay, well, that's, pretty good running back by committee. Then Boston Scott scores and you're like, okay, way more confused. And then Jordan Howard goes out and you're like, now what do I do? And he's still questionable with a neck injury, even though it was a stinger. So this whole thing is a mess. It's almost as bad as the Miami backfield and it's almost as bad as the Buffalo backfield. It's absolute junk. But if I did have to rely on one person,
I had to pick one.
I'm going to go Old Faithful here. And it's not Jordan Howard. I'm going Boston Scott.
Me too. Same. Me too. That is my gut. If I have to do it, I had to. Well, you know what? I'm not going to give away any of my secrets.
Okay.
Because, I lost James Robinson.
Me too.
And yeah, I did. And I'm going to the finals without him.
Oh, good girl, though. I'm
not. So I'm in a bind. I'm literally like, is Derek Gore the guy? Like, I don't know.
Know,
like,
right?
You know how we start getting like, is it Keyshawn Vaughn? Because originally I was like, oh, maybe it's Keyshawn Vaughn. I don't know. So I'm not going to give out any clues here because I know my opponent could be watching this. Is he sneaky like that?
Yep. So, dastardly. I hear you. But
happening.
mine, I will take this for you and I will go ahead and tell the people because I know the person who I'm playing against in the finals is not watching this because he's working. And I don't think he's going to go back and rewatch it. Hopefully. But yeah, I'm going for...
This show gets a lot of views, Lauren. Like, we are huge.
I hope so. If he does watch it, I'm going to be like, did I look good? And I won't even care. Like, whatever. But yeah, he's actually a very good friend of mine. So he probably already knows anything I'm going to do anyway. But yeah, Boston Scott is going to be the one that I'm going for. Mostly because I like his big explosive playability. I like that. I also like that he has done a very good job of just being that line of scrimmage back that we're really not quite used to seeing from Boston Scott. Whereas Jordan Howard, I feel, has a little bit more of a chance to not play as many snaps, especially given this neck injury here. Yes. And I like the matchup, and I like it as much as I despise having to rely on somebody from the Eagles running back committee, core, whatever you want to call it. It is going to be Boston Scott for me. I'm going to plant my flag on this hill and probably cry on it.
Yeah. So then let me ask you this. Boston Scott or Dario Ogunbowale?
Oh my gosh. This is so tough. Okay, I'm going to go Boston Scott on this. Now, I love Dario Ogunbowale. I love it. I didn't even say it right. And I said it right so many times. Ogunbowale. It's so phonetic. I love it. It's how you spell it. It's how you say it. I love it. So I am going to go Boston Scott over Dare. And I don't necessarily know if this is even a question in my mind here because I've heard a lot of the arguments about it being a volume thing. I don't think it's going to be a volume thing. This is the Jaguars. They're going up against the Patriots, right? This is gross. All of this is gross. There's nothing that's not even like this is a really good player who is going up against a bad matchup or it's a, mediocre player with a good matchup. This sucks all the way around. So I don't really want to deal with it here. The Jaguars are going, hot mess. Hot mess. Just like Carolina, which Eddie Spaghetti was like, it's a little bit of it's a hot mess. It's not even a little bit. This is gross. I want nothing to do with it because James Robinson was really that guy. And since he's gone, I don't necessarily know if this is the same kind of situation where you say, oh, it's the next man up. I don't see it. I don't see it here. It's probably going to be Laquan Treadwell, like rushing all the time, or it's going to be, somebody else. Who knows? I'm staying as far away from Dario as I can.
I'm with you. And I think Dario Ogunbowale is the kind of player that you're gambling just on a touchdown that he falls into the end zone. I mean, he had 17 carries in the game after Robinson left. He averaged 3.4 yards per attempt. Not spectacular. And then I'm looking at this game and it's a spread of 15.5. So Vegas thinks New England is going to win this by 15.5, 16 points.
Super great game script. Yeah. Terrible.
Wale fit.
Yeah, it's bad.
It could happen. But then I look.
Well, it's fantasy football. Likely it will because now we're like hating on it, so it's probably going to happen. Don't bank on it.
If you guys want to do the reverse jinx, now would be the time to get Dario.
But burn some sage. Get it going. But yeah, no, I'm staying as far away from Dario.
Your Bible verse.
Thou shalt not try me.
We're in agreement there. As far as quarterbacks, now that we have the safety net with the COVID thing, I don't think there's a need to really go get a COVID, backup right now. I think you can probably wait to the last minute if something comes up. I can't see really any guys I'm not starting Davis Mills over Russell Wilson. I know he's been disappointing, but I'm not doing that. Yeah. Tyler Huntley is still my preferred fill-in for Lamar. That is one good piece of news. Because of the COVID news, I would assume it's him and not Josh Johnson if Lamar doesn't go. And I think that's a nice, fill in if you're in that situation. But other than that, I'm not like going out like, oh, Trey Lance is going to win me my week. He's facing Houston. That's what we thought about.
Yeah, I don't mind Trey Lance, especially if you're in deeper leagues. I don't necessarily mind it because what we've seen.
Quarterback leagues.
Super flex and 2 quarterback. I think I could definitely get on board if you are desperate, especially if your league mates have a super huge bench and they're just like hoarding people right now. Especially if you were that really rude league mate that now everyone just wants to make sure you don't win. Don't be that person. Anyway, I don't mind it because I know what he can do with his legs. Kind of like that thing I have with Taysom Hill because I know he can run. Right. I think there is ability there for Trey Lance. So I don't hate that one, but I'm not going out of my way to go snag him, especially with this lightened COVID protocol, just like you mentioned, that we can actually do.
So that's a piece of research for me that changed. For instance, in my waiver article, I suggested Trey Lance on Monday. Now that there is no COVID, I'm kind of like, don't get cute. Now, if you're doing it, you're probably doing it to start him over like Kirk Cousins or something. And I couldn't do that in my championship week. I couldn't do it.
No.
Justin Fields is someone that's interesting to me potentially too. But again,
I was on Tuesday, I was on a podcast with Jake Seeley. We did the duck yeah, duck no with Trey Lance. And I found myself saying duck yeah to start him over so many players because there were so many question marks. But now that we have more clarity, just like you said, it's kind of one of those situations where don't be cute. I don't necessarily know if this is a situation, but if you are in a bind, I don't hate starting Trey Lance because of what we have seen that he can do with his legs.
Perfect. I'm with you 100%. All right. Oh, we got a question coming in on YouTube. All right, Lauren, you want to, we'll both answer this one. Ready?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
CD, T. Higgins, Waddle, or DK Metcalf? 1 point PPR. Which two do we start?
I was going to say, do I only have to pick one? Because who else are you starting? Because this is an amazing squad. Like, stop bragging about your team. Yeah. Ooh, this is tough. Okay. I am going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to go. I love Jalen Waddle. So that is one I think is going to be in my lineup. And my question is going to be here between CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins. I think I might go T. Higgins and Waddle, and I feel blasphemous for not starting CeeDee Lamb. But a lot of Amari Cooper buzz, a lot of squeaky wheel Amari Cooper.
True.
And I don't know if I trust Dak. I think I'm going to go T. Higgins and Jalen Waddle. But I feel like any combination of these is not going to be a wrong answer. They're all really good.
I think they're all really good. I do agree that we hit DK for whatever reason. He's obviously on the naughty list. I'm going to go CD and Waddle here simply because the Arizona Cardinals surrendered the 4th most points to opposing wide receivers across the past 4 games. They also have the highest game total of the week. However, T. Higgins' game has the 2nd highest game total of the week. And it's
really impossible
after what happened last week because he won me a lot of money on DK. DraftKings, not Metcalf. And Waddle, of course, is the guy. Like, we know he's the guy. He's there. That's what makes Tua work. And there's no competition. So he's not.
Yeah, thank you, Devontae Parker, for doing nothing.
Sharing with Amari Cooper. He's Waddle. So
yeah, I was gonna wear my salty shirt just for Devontae Parker. Just for him. It was gonna salty. Not friends. We're not friends anymore. He's dead to me.
That was painful for a lot of people.
Super painful. Super duper painful.
Somehow I just accidentally deleted all of my things I was going to talk about by like leaning on this iPad. Okay, so we're just going to have to go through my memory. Okay,
let's do it.
We got another YouTube question though to fill it in. Okay, Sony Michel or David Montgomery?
What? Oh my goodness. Okay. This is weird. This is when I have to my memory bank is painful here.
Okay. So David Montgomery. So David Montgomery is going up against the Giants. I feel like it's a David Montgomery is the answer here because Sony Michel, again, yes, he's the only guy probably at this point, and he's been awesome, but I think it's a bit of a tougher matchup. I wish I did not have to pick, but Baltimore, they have been stingy versus the run. So I think I'm going to go Montgomery here.
This is so painful, but yet it's not. This is when I harness my inner Rams hatred for leaving the city of St. Louis, of which I am a native. And I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. I'm going to say no, Sony Michel, and I'm going David Montgomery. I think a lot of things lend itself to starting David Montgomery here. Not only is it a good matchup, but I also think it's going to be game script heavily in favor of David Montgomery.
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, if Huntley starts, would you consider starting him over Dak? Or am I overthinking it?
Oh, Dak is one of those ones that is really tough. Okay, for me, especially in championship week, I get very conservative. So for me, I would say don't be cute and play your studs. That's kind of where I want to go with this situation, especially because there's kind of a chip on his shoulder here from the slump, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's a lot of intangibles that are behind Dak Prescott that make me really kind of want to believe in him. I understand the draw for Tyler Huntley, especially since I just made the argument of being able to use your legs here. But I think that your best bet is going to be playing Dak Prescott.
I agree. I would go Dak Prescott.
It's hard though.
It is hard, and I get why. But also, again, we were talking about matchups. Again, highest game total of the week for Dak. I understand Dak has been slumping. Totally get it. But I feel like they're clicking. It's hard to sit your studs. And again, looking over the last 4 weeks, again, Arizona, the 6th most points to opposing quarterbacks. So if it's that and the 2nd most points to opposing wide receivers, then I'm thinking Dallas is probably a safe way to go. Dallas, by the way, still leading the league in points scored per game, 30.5 per game, even with that Dak slump. Now,
isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. I think part of it, everyone wants to talk about the Dallas defense, and it's not that the Dallas defense is limiting points. It's more like they're helping score the points. Like they're either scoring them themselves or they're putting Dak in a position, or Zeke or Pollard or whoever in a position to score those points constantly. It is the most opportunistic defense I have ever seen. I don't know how long it can last, but as a Cowboys fan, I'm all for it. All for it.
Get it, girl. Yes.
Now, Lauren, I have to ask before we go into playoff week, if you have any. I'm like recovering all my data here for like my questions. So
I love it.
You're like massively tapping my iPad. It's coming back, baby. I'm like one button at a time.
I love it.
I want to know if you have any secret playoff strategies.
Ooh, okay. I am a firm believer. It may be too late unless your waivers processed already. I'm a firm believer in playing defense for your championship week. Not playing a defense. I mean, obviously, if you're in a league that plays defenses, that's what you're doing. But go and scoop up or have league mates who don't want to see the other person that you're playing in the championship week with. Or maybe if you're not even in the championship, keep them from getting the good players. Someone dropped A.J. Brown in my home league. And I am not in the championship, but there is no way that I am letting one of these people who's playing against my husband get that guy. And then the other one was Isaiah McKenzie. And I was like, go get him. Don't let him fall into the wrong hands. Like, those are usually my playoff strategies. My other one is don't try to overthink it. Don't try to overthink it. Don't be cute unless there's some serious injury or COVID news that happens right before the game. You're playing those guys who can pull through, because don't forget what time of year it is as well. This is not just the beginning or the middle of the season. This is playoff implications for real football, not just for us in fantasy. So these teams are stepping up to the plate. These teams are being even more aggressive, even more physical. They're trying to get those wins, and they're going to get them done no matter how they can do it. So I've had a lot of questions this week about Tyreek Hill. I'm sorry, I'm not sitting Tyreek Hill. I can't do it. And if you want to do it and try it, muy caliente, massive cojones, you do you, but that is not something that I am comfortable with doing, because I would hate my life and my soul would break and probably turn black if I lost because I sat those guys that have proven to be able to get it done, even if they've been disappointing.
See, I think I agree with you. You feel a lot worse about losing if you sat someone like Tyreek Hill than if you played someone like Tyreek Hill and the other random guy went off, right? I mean,
that's usually my piece of advice for people when they have these like starts and sits. They're like, oh, like, who do I start? What do I do? I'm like, listen, who would you feel less worse with?
That's right.
Losing. That's really what it boils down to. If you lose, who would you feel the least amount of crappiness with having started or not started? That's really how you can make that decision, because it's all about your mental health here when we're talking about losing. It's terrible.
100% about that. Like, if you had to go and say, I lost and I played Tyreek Hill, everyone would be like, oh man, that really sucks. I can't believe Tyreek Hill did. But if you said, I lost and I played,
DJ Moore,
Byron Pringle, then we're like, oh, sorry, dude, you deserve to lose because that was dumb. So, I think that's really what it comes down to. Like,
I agree. 100% agree. So that's usually my strategies. Don't like be afraid to play defense, because there's no other weeks you have to prepare for. Actually, here's a third part of that. Have a safety net, have an insurance policy in case of injury during the week and in case of COVID. So for example, I have a couple running backs that I do roster the backups to just in case. So I know they're not going to play, but maybe they will, kind of thing. So don't be afraid to get rid of some of those guys that aren't going to be in your starting roster for week 17 to add a little bit of insurance policy behind those studs that you have starting.
Absolutely. One more week left, make the cut.
Don't worry about it. You're good.
I have finally pressed the restore button enough times to get almost all my topics back.
Force it to happen.
Yeah. I'm just like, This is why I guess I didn't play video games growing up. There's probably some skill to it, like wrist
up, down, left, right, circle, A button.
Something. I'm sure there was some way to do it. I'm just sitting here hitting the back button, but here we are.
Yes.
We got it. Because we got this awesome question. I want to ask you, Eddie, and then I want to ask you, Lauren, how you feel about this. I think this is an excellent question. It comes up every year. Okay. This is from one of our Twitter followers. Jennifer, is it wrong to go to your Super Bowl opponent and ask if they want to split first and second place money? I mean, it's not a national league that has millions of owners and players. It's about 400 for first and 200 for second. Curious about your thoughts. So, Eddie, thoughts?
Because the league that we were just talking about earlier in the show, I know that if I asked my friends or my brother in my league, the answer is no. And I think also a part of me is like, well, I think I could win this one. Like, I don't want to hedge my bets. I felt confident that I would win. I'd rather take more than give a cut away. So I think I'd probably just say, me personally, I would not want to split any winnings. I'd have confidence in myself.
But even if you wouldn't want to split them, is it unethical to ask?
I hate collusion, and I'm commissioner of this league, so I'm very anti-collusion. Everything's like league vote. I lock rosters. I don't want anyone dropping people who should not be dropped or picking up like the teams in contention do it. So I'm like, I want to keep everything as fair and democratic as possible. I don't like the idea of like, because then if you're going to split money, you know it ahead of time. You may play the wrong player. I don't like that. It smells fishy.
So Eddie votes no. It is a no. Lauren?
As an avid Texas Hold'em player, there is absolutely nothing wrong with A, requesting to split the pot, and B, splitting the pot, especially if there is going to be some kind of reward other than monetary value, like a trophy or bragging rights. You still have a first and second, but the actual money that everyone put into it, and Eddie, wrong side. Eddie, there we go. Just to touch on to your point, I totally get it, because if there's money involved, that means people had to pay into it. And I think it should go to a league vote. I don't think it should be done, surreptitiously behind people's backs. But if everyone's okay with it, I have absolutely no problem with it. That's what happens when you're at a final poker table, right? Like when you're in a tournament, everyone's there. There's maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 people there, and they're like, okay, why don't we just split the pot? And then everybody gets paid out instead of having that first place get blah, 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 blah. I have no problem with that. That's actually a very common practice. If someone says no, they say no, but I don't think there's anything wrong asking that, especially what if this friend like really needs to pay off some debt for Christmas? Like he has a little kid. He wanted to buy him, a scooter, like something like that. He just needed a little bit extra money. He had to pay somebody, had to go do something special. Maybe he bought a gift for his mom who is in the hospital. Are you really going to say no because it's unethical? What's unethical here? What's the real morals, Eddie?
God, the child not having a scooter, Lauren.
I know. Or a bicycle. Let's not even go scooter route, like a teddy bear.
You know what the issue is
We don't know who's without scooters.
What's happening? It's Christmas.
The issue is too with all these fantasy sites too. They give you the projections ahead of time. I know that all the projections are accurate, but especially if there's maybe the team that went on a crazy run that's not nearly as good as maybe the first place team is in the championship round, and then you see like the number 1 team is being favored to win by 20-30 points. And of course, like you're gonna have the worst team owner be like, hey, would it be cool if we split this pot? It's always going to come from the person looking up. I feel like,
right.
And you're right. It is a fair. There is no harm whatsoever in asking, but I'm anti-split.
So I think I get to be the judge here, Judge Jen.
Judge Jen, where's your gavel? We need a gavel. Hold on.
I have like, where's our logo? We got to show that like whole like. I'm judging here. We got. This is a tricky one because I get it. Like if you've gotten this far, especially in a season with COVID, for instance, like, look, we're both so lucky we just got this far. Like, let's just split the $500. We each take $250. We both worked our butts off. Is it really fair that, blah, 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 blah. So I guess this is where it comes down to me. I think, as Eddie said, if it's, okay with the league, it's not super surreptitious, whatever, it's fine. It's between the two of you how you split the money. However, I personally would never, ever, ever do it. I would never do it. I want to win all the money. I want to be the outright champion. I just wouldn't do it. And if I lost, I would rather just lose. Like, I don't ever want the money for them because I don't need the money. Like I don't have kids, so they don't need scooters. And basically, like I'm good. I'll just, get what I need to get. So I couldn't do it. But I would say I don't think there's anything really technically wrong with it, though. I wouldn't do it. So I don't know if that's really a decision. So legally, we rule that you can do it. You're allowed.
There you go.
That's our declaration.
Yeah.
Unless your league commissioner says no, because your league commissioner is actually the one that has final say. So that was a great question, and I think a lot of people.
I love that.
I think it's a great question. Okay, so we have another question coming through on YouTube. Let's get to that. Okay, great. This is from Albert. You ready, Lauren?
Yeah.
Sony, Rojo, Zeke, and Mitchell. Pick 2 in a full PPR. I've got my picks.
This is crazy. I'm going to go, full PPR. Okay, I'm going to go Sony Michel and Elijah Mitchell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I like Sony Michel. I know I just like poo-pooed on him there a little bit, but that was a specific one with a specific matchup in that particular case. I like Sony Michel here, but I really like Elijah Mitchell if he's healthy, obvi. Ezekiel Elliott has been very, very disappointing. And I think Rojo might have Keyshawn Bond again.
So you're not going to like this answer at all, Alex. I'm going to give you the other 2. I'm going to say I would go Rojo and Zeke here. Because the Jets have enough to go around. It doesn't matter if he gets Keyshawn Bond. Like, I think they can both totally feast. And then for Zeke, rumors of Zeke's demise have been greatly exaggerated. If you sit Zeke, you're going to be sorry. He gets those goal line carries all the time. And it's PPR. He also catches the ball. I don't trust that Eli Mitchell's going to be 100%. I'm afraid it's going to be committed. Jeff Wilson's been healthy. And Sony, I love Sony, and I'm starting in my big money league as well as Rojo. I'm starting both of those guys in that league. But
that's a good point you make. Let me put mine into a caveat here. Because I'm in week 17, I'm in like home run hit because in every championship I'm in, I'm way, way behind. Did I mention that I lost most of my first, second, and third round players? So my mind is geared towards swing for the fences because that's all we have left, right? So if you need to play it safe, I think I might agree with you here. If you want to make sure that these are your solid money makers, I think those are the ones you can go with. For me, I'm looking at the upside here of Elijah Mitchell. And again, based on health. But Kyle Shanahan loves to use one running back when he really, really believes in him. So it's very difficult for me to sit someone like Elijah Mitchell with the big play explosiveness that he has. So if you want to play it safe, I would go ahead and go those routes between Rojo and Zeke. But if you need a little bit more upside here, I think I would go Elijah Mitchell and Sony. For some reason, Sony's giving me upside vibes, whereas I hope
you're right, girl, because I really need him to have
I got you. Okay, there we go.
Sunday, like big time. So please keep sending those vibes because I need Rojo and Sonny to both have a big day on Sunday. I picked those guys up. Let me just tell you, I'm just gonna have a little mini brag, okay?
Humble brag. Yes.
Picked these guys up weeks ago. I was like, they're too good of hand. Actually, I drafted Sony really, really late. Really late. Held him all year in my high stakes league. This is a league with no IR and no moves after week 15. Everything's locked. We cannot make a single move, not a single pickup. I have been sitting on Rojo.
That's amazing.
Yes. So,
oh my gosh, that's
here we are, championship round, fingers crossed, and I am projected to lose by like 35. Okay,
but then you'll probably win by 80.
I believe.
I believe too. I believe. Get it. Now she's not asking you to split the pot. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I'm not splitting the pot. No way. It's a big pot. It's like $3,000 or something. I can't remember. It's a lot. It's a lot of money. But
oh my gosh, that is. By the way, when I was doing like this right here, like trying to send the mojo, I like smacked a little knot I have like right on my forehead. So if I winced, that was why. My poor husband had a terrible nightmare in the middle of the night and turned around and punched me in the forehead, not knowing it was me. So I woke up and I was like, what happened? He's like, oh my God. It actually really didn't hurt that bad because I have a really, really thick skull, but he was so concerned. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll be okay. Like I played soccer for a lot of years. Lots of things hit this.
He's probably more traumatized than you are.
He was so traumatized. Yeah, I'm like, everything's fine. I should have milked it though. I should have been like, it hurts so bad.
I need a scooter.
Fetch things for me. I need my scooter. I need a Segway.
Now, as you can tell, Lauren's a little bit spicy.
Always.
And so I wanted to offer to our listeners a special holiday gift.
Ooh.
And, you know, I think we always go about New Year's resolutions one way, right? Like, always sit around and we examine ourselves. We're like, my New Year's resolution is this year I'm going to be more patient. I'm going to be more kind. I'm going to be generous, all those things. But we're going to offer you a special gift here on the Waiver Wired podcast. And what we're going to do is we're going to offer you some suggestions for your New Year's resolution. Things that we think you should do in the new year. And I will start off with a couple, and we can go around the table. And I'm going to go to Eddie, and then I'm going to go to stepmom Lauren. And we're gonna offer this gift to our listeners. I would like you all to consider this year, stop doing the Nick Castellanos deep drive to left thing, guys. We have heard this 1,000 times. My friend Todd Zola just tweeted about this. I couldn't think of anything better. Please just stop. Just stop. It's not funny. It's not funny anymore. Number 2, nobody's your daddy. Josh Allen is not your daddy. Jonathan Taylor is not your daddy. You know who's your daddy? The person that birthed you many, many years ago. And he probably doesn't appreciate you calling other guys your daddy. It's weird and it's creepy and it's giving me daddy issues right now. And my dad is on Twitter and I don't want to hear anybody else called daddy. So just stop. And get daddy t-shirts and daddy hats. Like, what does that even mean? I know I'm like so uncool, but I think it's time to put the daddy thing to bed. I think dad should just be your dad. I don't know what you want to call the guy you like a lot. You can call him your bae. I don't know. I mean, I'm so uncool, but really, daddy, I mean, can we stop?
I'm laughing so hard. My mascara is probably all the way down my face. I can't see.
I think we have to stop. And then my third Year's resolution to all of you out there, and then I'll stop after this. I'll pass the mic along. Can you stop selling high on every player the second after they're good in dynasty leagues? It's so annoying. You see, I don't know, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, so how much are you selling him for this week? Stop. Just enjoy your players. You people, you don't even enjoy what you have. You know why you're having trouble winning leagues is because the second somebody's good, you go and try to auction them off to the highest bidder and see what you can get for them. And you know what you end up with? A bunch of nothing and a team that's always going to win next year and the next year and the next year and the next year. You know what happens? Sure, you get lots of draft picks and your team sucks and you never get to take home the trophy and you never get to split money for a scooter. So stop. Yeah. It's annoying. Just have a good team, okay? It's okay. Once in a while you can make a trade, but this obsession with the second someone is good and you immediately have to figure out what you can get for him. Calm down, friends, and learn to play maybe another fantasy sports. You have something to do in the off season. That's my suggestion. Eddie, let me go to you.
I'll start off with a quick fantasy football one that I've seen a lot more this year and heard a lot more, and then maybe due because of the COVID, protocols and players missing time and a lot more, I guess, significant injuries. But I'm so tired of people being like, "Oh, this is the year. I'm really done. I'm done with fantasy football this year." You're not. You've been playing for 10, 15, however many years. Come July and August, you're gonna buy the magazine, you're gonna read the website, you're gonna do your draft prep, you're gonna be drafting, and you're gonna have the same, process you have the year after where you're very excited about your team, you're loving your team, and then everyone has their bumps and bruises along the way. You have injuries, you deal with some bad losses, and you get some good wins, and the cycle repeats, and it's a fun thing, and that's why you continue to do it. So just please stop with no, I'm really done this year. I've had enough. I can't win. Too much. And I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of those comments. And my bigger resolution, kind of off the very sad death of John Madden, one of the greats, and an influence in my life, of course, whether it's the broadcasting or the video game, but some pretty awful tweets about him, two that come to mind. Yeah. And, kind of piggyback off of that, it's just, please, before you tweet something, especially after a tragedy, for your own personal gain, to make a point, it doesn't look great. And I would love if social media would just, you have to pay for it, pay for the amount of time you're on it. There's some kind of limit. And I know my job and our jobs revolve around social media, but 90% of the time it is bad, but that 10% of the time it brings you back because there are some good people or using it for news and whatnot. But man, oh man, we especially in the times that we're in, it's you should definitely think and say it out loud before you put something in the public sphere, because most of the time it's pretty cringeworthy. And unfortunately, the John Madden thing brought that to light yet again.
That is such a good point. If you can't say it out loud, if you can't call up your mom and say it, you probably shouldn't write it on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Being a mom, being a stepmom, Lauren, what is your advice? to the new
So
year.
mine is gonna, I mean, Eddie Spaghetti, you couldn't have made this any more perfect. I mean, you just queued it up. You just set it right down on a tease so I could just take it home, baby. Don't be an asshat on social media. Stop. I am so sick of it. Like people who are super rude on social media, they say rude things, they do rude things, and then they're all curious as to why you're losing followers or people are hating on you. Just don't be that person. Don't be that person in real life. Don't be that person on social media. Be a good person. Like that's all you need to do. There is nothing holding you back from saying a compliment every once in a while instead of just ripping somebody to shreds because you can, because you're behind a phone or a screen. Stop it. How do you treat people in real life? Because that is how you will be treated in return. And I've had a lot of people ask me, especially as a woman, they're like, well, how many people do you have to block? And like, how many, D pics do you get? I'm like, I don't get any. And I rarely do I have to block somebody because I don't put myself out there as somebody who is going to be acceptable of this thing. And if they do this to me, I mute them and move on. I don't argue with them. It's like two friends who have completely different political views and they start arguing with each other like they're actually going to listen to one another. No, it's not going to happen. They're not going to listen to you. You're not going to make your point. You just move on and don't let it bother you. Don't let it get you worked up to the fact that now you're just catting and clawing and insulting and just being mean. Don't be that person. Take a moment out of your day, every single day, to not only pay somebody else in your life a compliment, but pay yourself a compliment and then live it, because that is what we do in real life. So let's bring that to social media and don't be jerks. I mean, literally don't be a jerk. And you will be so surprised at how far you can get in your career, in your life, in whatever it is that you're doing if you just have kindness and you empathize with other people. Shocking. This is not new, but let's start practicing these things just to piggyback off of what Eddie Spaghetti so eloquently said. And my next one is, I understand that you lost a lot of players in fantasy football. So did I. It's not like you lost Christian McCaffrey, but my Christian McCaffrey on my team is still scoring points. No, we know. Okay. I know how hard it is. I didn't, Tanya Harding him. It just happened. Okay. Injuries happen in fantasy football. It is no one's fault. It's not your fault. It's not his fault. These things just happen. So please don't lament like it is somebody's fault in the universe when there is COVID, when there are injuries, or when your team sucks. This is fantasy football. It is glorified, educated guessing. It's meant to be fun, not meant to make you so sad and upset that now the world is ending because your team did not make it to the playoffs. I am literally in 15 leagues. I'm in the playoffs in 2 leagues. 2 leagues. And I do this for a living. It's okay.
It is
you
okay.
Will survive.
And it is meant to be fun. And
yes.
Yeah, I have to tell you, for anybody who is, it's not just even for industry, it's just for life advice. It starts with don't be a jerk.
Yes. Don't be a jerk.
I mean, it really does.
Do it.
It gets you a lot farther in life. It really does. I don't understand people who think the opposite does. I can't imagine that they're happy. But on that note, just really quickly, we'll just say one positive thing each. I wanted to talk about a player we love this year. Just really quickly, like who, like, I know Christian McCaffrey got injured. I don't care. I still would take him in the first round if I was doing it again next year. I can't predict injuries. When he plays, he is phenomenal. And we'll consider all that next year, and we'll talk about that next year. But let's talk about who has been amazing for us this year and why we love them. Eddie, I'll start with you.
I want to go with Brandon Cooks, a little off the radar, just because obviously there's some bigger names there, which I'm sure you guys will get to. But I have to give him a shout out because I took him, I believe, the 11th round of my draft. Wasn't really intending on really starting him that much, and he was a guy that you're like, okay, well, it'll probably be the one, but the team has a humongous question to quarterback. Obviously, we know about the Deshaun Watson stuff. David Mills has been a great, fill-in for them for the few weeks, and he's had, I think, 7 weeks over projections and a few other really good weeks too. And he was a guy that was a mainstay on my lineup at the receiver position, and he's had a really good career that people are kind of sleeping on, and it was just a pat on my back, great pick by me, trusting a guy that's had a really solid career and another good season with Brandon Cooks.
Love Brandon Cooks. I had him everywhere, and he was one of the people that I needed last week so badly. But here's news, guys. Brandon Cooks practice today. Come on, Brandon Cooks. I need you. 1 more week, buddy. Love you, love you, love you. Okay, Lauren, who's your guy?
I'm switching him on you, girl, because I already told you who it was going to be, but I'll say that real quick. Cooper Kupp, love him. Low-hanging fruit.
Love him too. He's in 2 of my best ball teams. 2 of my best ball teams are going to win.
Love him. Yes, I love him so much. And I originally had this as mine because I don't want to say I hated on Cooper Kupp because I'm generally not like a hateful person, but I was more of a Robert Woods girl prior to Matthew Stafford, simply because of the 12 personnel that they were running, the 2 tight end splits. It really
Robert Woods this year.
It favored Robert Woods over Cooper Kupp, but this year his draft was the value got him in the draft was just way too much to pass up, and he has absolutely exploded. But Eddie Spaghetti inspired me, especially with this Deshaun Watson thing. I want to tip my hat to Tua Tagovailoa, who has literally had to endure so much of him just questioning whether or not he can play in the NFL, then dealing with injuries, not only coming back from a basically missing leg, like, right? His hip bone was like up in his trachea. That's a situation. He came back, went into the NFL, he worked his butt off, and then now they've won 7 straight. He has got the Deshaun Watson monkey off of his back. He can focus on leading this team, and he has done it with dignity, and he has done it with poise. And I want to emulate being like that and being as cool as a cucumber as that guy is. Tip of the hat to him. He is an inspiration.
Could not agree more. Eddie and I were talking about him a few weeks ago about how wrong of a deal he's been getting all season with this talk about it. It's unbelievable. And by the way, another thing, I don't need to hear any more about how he's a left-handed quarterback, everybody. Like, just get over it. He throws the ball with his left hand. I don't care. He's awesome. I think he's got a great heart. I think he's got a great soul. And I think he's playing hard for the Dolphins, who are now on a 7-game win streak. Okay.
So crazy.
Serious. Okay. So I'm going to go along with you guys too. I'm not going to talk about someone I took in the first round. I'm going to talk about James Conner. You know, this is somebody I wanted to be awesome last year. Didn't quite work out. You know, he moved to Arizona and I was kind of like, you know, I still like him, but I'm only going to have him a couple places just in case. But, you know, his story is so fantastic coming back from the cancer and then, you know, the Arizona thing. And then everyone was on Chase Edmonds and I kept looking at it. And I was on a show with Chris Meany and we were breaking down the Arizona Cardinal. I know I love Meany too. Always the best. And I said, you know, I just keep looking at James Conner. I keep coming back to James Conner and this makes sense that he would get the goal line carries based on how they do it. And I want it to be James Conner. And to watch James Conner come out and be absolutely dominant this year, not just in the run game, but in the passing game and just be phenomenal has just warmed my heart. Not just my fantasy teams who did great. And I have him in my dynasty team and all that kind of stuff, but just as watching football, I'm not even a Cardinals fan. It just made me feel so good. It gave me the warm fuzzies. So cheers to you, James Conner. To end this on a high note, last thing before we wrap up this podcast. First of all, go to extrapoints.com/arcade. Play with us. We have free contests every week where you get to pick each game of the NFL season. So on Sunday, you'll make all your picks, and then whoever gets the most right gets a free golden hat. Do not forget that. Eddie and we're keeping up with them. We're up there at the top, Eddie. I think our records are top
right
5.
Below Harry. We're there. Yeah.
We're close. Yeah. I didn't have a great week this week. I think I only got 8 right. But everyone should appreciate my reverse jinx on the Cowboys. I took the Washington to cover, and you're welcome. You're welcome, Cowboys fans. And then we do have a couple more questions here. So let's quickly grab them. They came in on Twitter this morning. Eddie, will you read the questions for us we got this morning?
Yep, let's get to it. And thanks again for those bunch of YouTube comments today. Extra Points Pod on YouTube, Extra Points Pod on Facebook and Twitch as well. And we could read those live. But those who tweeted, we'll start with you. We need to start one here. Gabe Davis, Ogunabwale, and Russell Engage. Thank you. And hi, Mom. This is from Gmo, the icon.
Gemo! Oh, Gemo, my dearest. Okay, I'm stuck on this one because I am kind of leaning Gabriel Davis, but I feel like that is a smoke screen. But then my other option here is Russell Gage. So I'm leaning Gabriel Davis, but I think I'm going to defer this to Jen.
This is a really tricky one. Yes. Ogunbowale is not in the conversation. No. We have eliminated him. It is between Gabe Davis and Russell Gage for me as well. You know, I'm looking at the game line here. Obviously, Buffalo is highly favored. Gabe Davis is a touchdown monster, but Cole Beasley is going to be back too. Dawson Knox is there. Obviously, Stephon Diggs, the whole thing. And Atlanta's going to have a really tough time with the Buffalo pass defense. But Gage is the number one guy.
It's so hard.
I would go Gage.
Yeah. And I don't hate that because I like the volume. I like the volume of what he's going to do. Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I just think he's going to get more. But that is a gut decision. If you went Gabe Davis, I don't blame you. He's definitely someone that can pop up. I think there's a much higher ceiling with Davis. He could have a
so safety upside.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like safety is Gage, upside is Davis, because Davis is still a bit touchdown dependent, whereas Gage is probably going to get more targets, right? So
I like
PPR,
it. Yep.
Yeah, so that's a RER. That's your floor and ceiling play, I guess.
Agreed.
Okay, next question.
Moving on here, question from Hockey Dad for Life in full point PPR. He needs to pick one and is running back 2 slot: Josh Jacobs, Sony Michel, or Rashad Penny.
Oh, am I going Sony Michel over Josh Jacobs? I think I am going Sony Michel.
I'm going Rashad Penny over Josh Jacobs.
Spicy! I love it. I love it.
So
I love
gross.
it.
But Detroit.
I know it's spicy. I like it.
I love Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is one of my boys as well. I love Josh Jacobs. But again, week 17, I'm going to go Rashad Penny versus Detroit. I like their Sony Michel call as well. I don't actually think, it is a good matchup for Jacobs versus Kansas City. It's good. But is Las Vegas going to be running the ball a lot in this game?
Yeah, that's why I'm out on Jacobs. So my 2 choices were going to be between Sony Michel and Rashad Penny. And my original one was volume, but you know what? Rashad Penny's probably going to see a ton of volume too.
It's tricky.
That is tricky.
I think so. I think he's earned it. But then again, Rashad Penny could get injured if he sneezes. So
I know that's my biggest issue. So I think I'm going to stick with my Sony Michel. I think I'm going to stick with as long as he doesn't keep running into butts, which he's done a really good job of avoiding the last 2 weeks. Well done, Sony. Let's hope that trend continues.
Right, next question. We got one from John asking, what do you think about the Eagles defense against WFT or the Bears against my gulp Giants?
This one's easy for me.
It's the Bears for me.
Same. I mean, not even a question here.
But when you start out with the game plan of quarterback by committee, I feel like you're showing your hand.
I think he wanted us to say something else. I think gulp was please don't make it be against my own team. Sorry, buddy.
Sorry.
All is fair.
This is the way that the Giants could win for you. See, this is how they're going to win for you.
I like that. Right? I like that.
You can really, you're going to get
positive spin on things.
Absolutely.
I love it. Yes, Bears, my friend. Go Bears.
And to round out the questions here, we have one from Jason. San Francisco 49ers or the Miami Dolphins defense special teams. That's part 1. And part 2, he needs, I guess, the order or which one to start out of Chase Claypool, Boyd, and Osborne.
Oof. Okay. Probably going to go San Francisco defense, but not by a large margin. As far as Claypool, Boyd, Osborne, this is a tricky one.
Agreed.
I think they're probably all about the same, to be honest. But probably Osborne has the most upside in that there's no Adam Thielen. And Green Bay surrendering an average of 37 PPR points per game to opposing wide receivers. So should Jair Alexander be all over Justin Jefferson? That kind of leans towards KJ Osborne. But it's really hard to start KJ Osborne over Tyler Boyd or Chase Claypool. I don't know. What are you leaning here, Lauren?
I'm the same. I am all about that KJ Osborne life. I am not as concerned with KJ. I'm not even going to overthink it. KJ Osborne. That's what I'm going with. Go with your gut. That's another strategy I have is go with your gut here. It's going to be KJ Osborne. I love Tyler Boyd, but there's only a matter of a few plays when it's back to T. Higgins, when it's back to Jamar Chase. Right. And who's the other one besides Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool's dead to me. Want to know why? So is Ben Roethlisberger. So don't even worry about the Steelers. Done. Be done with the Steelers. Don't worry about them. If Chase Claypool does well on your bench, be like, about time. Don't worry about it. KJ
and just
then
remember,
San Francisco.
And just tell yourself that you bench Chase Claypool for disciplinary reasons, and he's going to be a better player for it in the long term. Yeah. He probably needs to be benched for disciplinary reasons.
Write him an angry letter. You'll feel so much better.
Any more questions, Eddie? Do we have anything on YouTube?
No more questions, but we did have a comment after answering the pool split in the championship game. We got a tweet back in from Parge saying, "Thank you for your answers to my question. I will not be splitting the championship money." So we've convinced him.
Oh, wow. Okay. So he's not doing it on the moral high ground. I love it. I love it. I love it. But there's nothing wrong with it. We decided there's nothing wrong with it. We just said we wouldn't do it.
I don't know if I could do it. Like poker money, sure. Like, but my championship money from 17 weeks worth of work? Heck no.
I love it. You guys, it is the championship week. It has been a blast to have Stepmom Lauren on the show today. Please let everyone know where they can find you one more time.
Okay, so I work at like 3 billion places, but you can find all of my work on my website. It's stepmomlauren.com. I write for NBC Sports Edge, the fantasy footballers. I do video work for Fantasy Pros, for Bets TV, for Mayo MediaNet. I'm also a Football Guy staffer. So you can just find all of that at stepmomlauren.com. You can actually subscribe to it. It's free. It just kind of lets you know when I add more material from all the stuff I do during the week. And yeah, come find me on social media across all platforms. It's Stepmom Lauren. Do not Google search that when you are at work. It is not safe for work. And no, that is not me. That is somebody else.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Just have to do the disclaimer every single time. Because someone's like,
oh
my God, I Googled your name. I was like, really? I know.
There was one time because I was an actress in my former life and I did some modeling. And there was one time one of my friends from high school went to my website and it was blocked on his work computer because I had some sexy dress on or something, which was hilarious. I'm
salacious. No, there's a whole nother Stepmom Lauren that is not me. Okay. I didn't know that she existed when I already had my Twitter handle because I am a stepmother. So that's not me. Just go straight to my website, stepmomlauren.com. That is the real fantasy football stepmom right there.
Stepmomlauren.com is where you're going to find the best information. Lauren, absolutely one of my favorite people in the business. Good heart, good soul, and a great, great mind. And that's what we're looking for. And plus, she's a lot of fun. And if you're not having fun doing this, then don't do it because we're here to have fun and we're here to have fun with you. We appreciate you hanging with us all season on Waiver Wired. We'll be back next week. Just because fantasy football is over doesn't mean we're done. We're going to celebrate your championships with you. And we're going to start talking about games, game bets, and DFS. And yes, it is right, friends. Last week, our DFS video told you to stack Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. Yeah, we did. The proof is on the Twitter. You can go check it out. In the meantime, go out, win those fantasy football championships, and come back next week and brag about it because we'll be here. Have a great weekend.